get you some. Oh yeah. Mate, it's lucky she can cook. Wow. G'day lovelies, welcome back. Alrighty, up tonight we've got a chili beef bake. Now back in the day this was classed as a budget meal, and by back in the day I mean about 4.5 years ago. It is a really hearty meal and it serves a good 8. First thing we want to do is get 1.5 cups of uncooked short grain rice. I'm using jasmine. We want to put a pot of water on to boil, chuck our rice in, turn it down to a simmer and cook it. Once we've cooked it, we want to drain it really well, but we do not want to rinse it. While the rice is cooking, we want to grab ourselves a 12 cup shallow oven dish and we need to grease it. So either you get your spray oil and you can spray it, or I'm just going to use a little bit of margarine today and just spread it all over. I'll write the recipe below the video in the description as always. Okay, I've cooked the rice, drained it really well, put it back in the saucepan, and I'm just leaving it to cool down because we want it warm. I've greased my dish and that's ready to go. Now that it's cooled down, we want to put 1 egg in. And we want to mix it through really well. Once all the rice is a pale yellow colour, we now want to tip it into our dish. And now with clean hands, we want to spread it out. And then we want to push it all down. Once we've done that, we want to get the back of a spoon and just smooth it all out. So smooth the top down. Pushing a little bit. I'm just going to get a loose piece of Glad wrap and just sit it over the top of it. Now for the filling, we're going to need a tablespoon of oil, 1 kilo of beef mince meat. We need 2 medium onions chopped, 2 cloves of garlic crush or 2 heaped teaspoons of jar garlic, 2 teaspoons of ground cumin seeds, 2 teaspoons of ground coriander seeds, 1 teaspoon of garam masala, 2 teaspoons of chili flakes. Now I can't have anything too hot or spicy, so I only put 1/4 teaspoon in, but it's up to 2 teaspoons. 2 400 to 425 gram cans of tomatoes, and we want the full cans, so we've got to open them up. We're going to need a cup of water, or if you've got chicken stock, you can use a cup of chicken stock, and 1 egg. So the first thing I want to do is chop up the onions, undo the cans of tomatoes, and grab out a large frying pan. Now because I've only got the cheap mince, it's going to be really fatty. So we have to brown it really well and then take it out of the pan to do the next step. So because you can't see what I'm doing when I do it, when I take it out of the pan, I'm going to be putting it into a strainer that's got a bowl on it, and hopefully that will strain out most of the fat before we've got to put it back in. Alright, now we want to stick our pan on between medium and high. Now if you're using lean mince, you might need a tablespoon of oil, but because I've got the cheaper mince, I reckon there's enough fat in there that I won't need to put any in. So we just want to break our mince off in bits and put it in there, and we want to brown it really well. Alright, I've browned it really well. I'm just going to turn it off. Alright, so I'm going to scoop it all out into my strainer. Now I'm just going to get a couple of paper towels. Now with the excess fat, we still need just a little bit in there for the onion, but not much. So I'm just going to soak it up. Before I turn it back on, we'll just throw everything in. So first up, we want to throw in all of our chopped onion, 2 teaspoons of ground cumin seeds, 2 teaspoons of grounded coriander seeds, 1 teaspoon of garam masala, and for the chili flakes, anything up to 2 teaspoons. Now you want your 2 cloves of garlic crushed or 2 heaped teaspoons of jar garlic. Now I'm going to put the pan on a medium heat, keep flicking it all around until the onion is cooked. Once our onions are cooked and see-through, we now want to add our mince. Look, that's not even oil, that's half water. Look what was in there. That was in the mince, seriously. Alright, sprinkle that over. Let me start the pan. In Aussie girl style. Alright, let's give that a quick mix in. Now we want to add our 2 full cans of chopped tomatoes. I'm using water today, so now we want to add our 1 cup of water or stock. I don't normally use beef stock just because it's so salty. Even the unsalty is salty. Now we want to leave the lid off. We want to simmer it, and we want to leave it sitting there simmering until it's really thick. So once we've got it nice and thick, which is basically like this, turn our pan off. That took roughly about 20 minutes, but I'm using the electric fry pan, which always turns itself on and off. So if you've got a constant heat, it'll probably take a little less. Okay, so once we've got it really thick like that, spread it out. Now we want to leave it sit there for 10 minutes to cool down. Alrighty, 10 minutes later and it's cooled down. We now want to crack an egg in there, and we want to mix it through really well. Once we've done that, grab our oven dish. Okay, now we want to get our mixture and we want to spoon it over it. Once we've got it all in there, we now want to spread it all out with a fork first. Once we've got it roughly even, now gently, we want to push it down, just gently with the back of a spoon. Alright, now we've smoothed it all over, I'm going to get the Glad wrap and loosely cover it again. And we're going to set it aside while we do the topping. So I'm preheating my oven now at 180 degrees Celsius. So for the topping, we need 125 grams of butter in a large saucepan. We need 4 cups of milk, half a cup of plain flour, 2 eggs, and 1/4 cup of chopped fresh coriander. I don't have any, so I'm using chopped fresh parsley. First thing we want to do is put our saucepan on a low heat, and we want to melt our butter. Alright, once our butter is melted, we want to add our 1/2 cup of plain flour. We want to mix it through really well. Alright, as soon as we've mixed it through really well and we've got all the lumps out, we want it to start bubbling, so we'll just wait for that. Now, as soon as it starts to bubble, we want to set a timer for 1 minute. And for that 1 minute, we want to constantly just scrape the bottom, just so it doesn't stick. And what we're doing now is we're cooking the flour out. Once our minute is up, we now want to take it off the heat. We want to slowly pour our 4 cups of milk in while stirring. Once you've got a majority of it stirred through, you can start pouring it in quicker. Alright, now we want to put it back on the stove top. We want to crank the heat up. We want to bring it up to a boil, and we want to keep stirring it until it's thick. Okay, so if I didn't say, you need to stir the whole time, and then when it starts to boil, it happens really quick. And so when you're stirring the whole time, make sure you're scraping the bottom so none of it sticks to the bottom. When it comes like this, and it coats your spoon, she's ready. Alright, so now what we've got to do is we need to leave it sit there for 5 minutes to cool down. While that's cooling down, we want to get our 2 eggs into a bowl and whisk them. 5 minutes later, give it a quick stir first. Then we want to add our eggs and stir them in quickly. Once we've fully stirred them in, we want to add our parsley or coriander and stir that through. Now I'm going to put it on a baking tray. So while I've got the Glad wrap on there and it's cooled down, I've now pressed it down gently, and then like pressed a little, what do you call it? What is it? A moat around the end of it, edges. Oh, I'll take that off. Now with a big spoon or a ladle or whatever you've got, we want to pour it over. I'm going to put it in on the middle shelf. I'm going to set the timer for an hour, but I'll start checking it after 45. We want a beautiful light brown on the top, and we want the top set. Alrighty, lovelies, exactly 1 hour later in my plain electric oven, and mate, she smells awesome up in here. Oh, this is so cool. So to know when it's set, you can just press it and you know it's nice and firm. Oh, such a hearty meal. Alright, I'm going to leave it sit there for 10 minutes to do its thing, and then we can serve it up. And if you don't have a big family, cut the recipe in half. Make sure that your dish is half the size. So there's no real pretty way to serve it up. You can always stick a little bit of parsley on there just for the colour. Well, there you have it, lovelies. A stunning, filling, just awesome meal. You've got to give it a crack. Your whole family is going to love it. Thank you so much for watching. Have yourselves an awesome night, and I'll see you soon. Doodles.